Hey guys, welcome to the party. We are the Weekend Rockstars, your weekly podcast for all the tips, tricks, and licks you need for getting started with music. I am Scott Freeman, and with me, as always, is Billy. Was going to order a pizza, Deadman.
I was not going to order a pizza, Scott. How dare you?
You were close to it.
No way.
Good old pizza. What were you going to get? You were going to get a Tops, weren't you?
I was not going to get a pizza, Scott.
You weren't going to get a pizza?
I was not going to get a pizza.
Oh, am I getting you in trouble by saying this?
No.
With the old fiancé?
There was no pizza.
No pizza involved. Okay.
Yeah.
We'd like to make a statement now on behalf of the Weekend Rockstars that Billy Deadman was not going to order a pizza.
No.
It was definitely not going to be a Tops pizza.
Definitely not. It's going to be a salad.
It was going to be a salad. There was going to be no meaty content or delicious sauce or cheese.
I've already had dinner. It's fine.
You've already had dinner. Hokey pokey. Cool beans. So, this week we're going to tackle the art of soundcheck. So, soundcheck is a majestic part of the gigging experience, as we all know, and so Billy, like, what would you describe soundcheck as? What's the Webster's Dictionary definition of soundcheck?
The Webster's Dictionary definition of the soundius checkius is
Latin.
Essentially it's that moment in time before the gig where a band makes the final preparations for the sound and works as one with the sound engineer of the venue to create the soundscape of said gig. And it's a very it's very ritualistic in a way.
It is a bit ritualistic.
There is like an order of events, if you will, and you know, I think it makes the difference between a good gig or a bad gig sometimes. It really can.
Okay.
It's almost as important as the gig itself.
It is almost as important as the gig. So what does soundcheck look like for you? So,
basically, obviously, with being in the bands that I'm in, soundcheck would generally involve loading into the venue at a designated time that the venue would give us.
Yeah.
And then you would set up all your gear on the stage, depending if you're the headline or the support act, depends on where you're going to be in the order of sound checking. If you're the headline band, you're going to be setting up first and sound checking first, and then it runs down the bill backwards to the first band, but essentially.
Yeah.
And yeah, for myself, being the bass player, I'm usually the second musician in the band to be asked to check my sound, as it were.
So it's, drums first?
Drums first. So they'll go through the drums individually. They'll go through the kick drum, snare drum, tom drums, cymbals, and then whole kit, and they'll get all those levels nice and tasty. And the drummer gets to play the kit. And then they'll be like, Mr. Bassman, give me some of that sexy bass. That's my cue to then slap the bass.
Slap the bass.
And generally, like, just check my levels and show. It's another thing that I guess now I've got effect pedals. I never used to have effects pedals.
Yeah.
But now I've got some effects pedals. If you're going to use them, my one pro tip to the audience there: show off those sounds that you might be using, just in case they are wildly different.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally that's basically what it looks like. I'll play some stuff, then the sound engineer will move through the other instruments, the guitars, the vocals finally, and then after that we'll run a small, maybe half a song or maybe a whole song, depends how long you've got really. And the sound engineer will tweak the levels for the front of house.
Yeah.
And then also he will check with us what we want in our monitors.
Ah, yes.
And this is the key ingredient to a good gig or a bad gig, almost.
Definitely, yeah.
Because depending on the monitoring, obviously it's what you're hearing of yourself and your bandmates.
Yeah.
So you'll tell the sound engineer what you want in the monitors. I usually like to have a bit of kick drum, a lot of myself, and some lead guitar. when it's in Fuzzwalker and there's 2 guitars, I generally don't need Matt's guitar because I'm right next to his amp anyway.
Okay.
So the monitoring comes from the amp there anyway.
Okay, so that's a tip. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're close to another instrument's amplifier, you maybe don't need them so much in your monitor.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the lead guitar, I want to hear those solos. So
yeah,
that don't exist anymore because Ed left the band.
Oh. But yeah. So how about vocals? Would you want some crispy vocals?
Yeah. So main vocals definitely. Backing vocals not fussed on. Don't care. Don't need them.
Yeah.
Who needs them? I'm sure the backing vocalist needs them for himself to hear himself, but or herself. But for me, not fast. Don't need them. I just need the basic. I need bass, drums, guitar, and some vocals. Just not even to make out every word, just to hear the melody, so I know where I am in the song. If I'm lost, I don't generally get lost much. But that's kind of. I mean, once that's all done, the sound engineer will then say, "Is that good for you guys?" And we'll go, "Yeah, man," and then or woman, and we'll then bugger off.
Yeah.
How about yourself? How's your set?
So when I play, I'll do both. So I'll talk about when I play solo and when I play with the Sex Whales, because it's a little bit different. So when it's just me, Soundcheck is super easy. Usually, I'll talk about a horror story later on because I'm sure we've both got horror stories from doing sound checks. But usually I'll get up and it's just I just need the one monitor in front of me and I need to get my guitar through. And it's when I play venues, regularly, they get to know my sound a bit because I've got a particular sound I want to get with the acoustic because I'm playing it as both a lead and a rhythm instrument at the same time. So I kind of I need a lot of kind of like
crunch.
I need a bit of everything, really. I need, I need my lows, my mids, and my highs all kind of like perfectly balanced, and so I need to.
As all things should be.
As all things should be. Yeah, and so I need to make sure I'm getting all of that across and making that known to the engineer. The railway in Winchester, obviously I lived there for a long time and got to know the engineer Jay very well.
Top
I think
man.
He's a great guy, Jay.
Yeah.
Gave me a lot of tips for this studio, actually.
Yeah.
So props to Jay. But like he's been mixing me for I don't know how many years now. So like no one makes my guitar or makes me sound better, really.
I can attest that, having been at a gig at the railway, which you played supporting Fuzzwalker, and he had you sounding pucker.
He knows how to do my sounds, and so it will be so disappointing where you play there one weekend, then the next week you go play somewhere else, and like you really describe what you want it to sound like. And say I'm on the bill with a whole bunch of other acoustic acts, and like the guy just goes, "Oh, they're just acoustic acts. They all kind of sound the same." So he just, like, I'll be very particular in sound check, but then when it gets to the actual gig, they kind of just throw all of that out the window and just make me sound like everyone else. And it's just like, no, like I can't sound like Mr. Tapping his acoustic from before. Like my thing's really unique. I need a very specific sound. So sound check so important for me. But I often find with acoustic acts, sound engineers, the bad ones, can just disregard it. Like it's a cheap buck for them.
I know this from experience, but holding some acoustic nights of my own and having to do the sound, I learnt very quickly that not every acoustic guitar is made equal.
Yes, yeah.
They're very different sounding. Electric guitars, I think, you get different tones in electric guitars, but they're amplified, so it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But acoustic guitars can vary very differently, and also and how people play them as well.
That's it. Yeah.
It's all very unique to the player and the instrument.
Yeah.
Sound you get.
I think with a band, it's almost kind of easier, because you've got the different frequencies kind of spread out.
Mapped out already.
But with an acoustic, it's kind of finding kind of what frequency's right for that player and what they're kind of doing.
Yeah.
So that's why it can be kind of tricky for me at times.
Yeah.
If they get it right, I get it out the monitor. I run through a song. I'll usually run through. you know, I'll usually run through my first track. Actually, you know, I'll play through that. And yeah, if that's all cool, then I'm off the stage in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then other times, you know, it can be more disastrous. But with the Sex Whales, it's always interesting because it's such a fluctuating lineup. That, you know, most of the time, like when we're on stage, you know, everyone's like, when they ask the rest of the band, oh, you know, what do you want on their monitor? Everyone just says, Scott, nothing else, just Scott. Because they're like, you know, still sort of like grasping the songs because everyone's sort of, you know, fresh to it. So that's, always amusing. Yeah, man. So we've said that sound checks, it's definitely essential.
Yes.
It's kind of life or death. Yeah. Really. You know, do you find having a limited time for like having a sound check? Do you think that's a curse, or do you think having too long for a sound check is bad? Or do you think there's like a sweet spot? You know,
I think having not enough time can put a lot of stress on everyone. So yeah, more time the better, I think. But you do get some headline bands that will just take forever. Like, how long does it take to check the sound of your guitar, dude? Like, you know, get on with it. Sometimes I'm thinking, like, you know, but I guess that's their prerogative if they're a headline band. But you know, give the support band some time as well. You know, everyone wants to sound good. You know, But yeah, I think that when you have times when you're getting rushed through your sound check, it usually means that there's just not enough time to get everything right, and you're just at the mercy of what the sound engineer can do in the moment on during like beginning your set, almost just to fix everything on the fly. So yeah, it's a tricky one, and then you've also got obviously the dreaded line check, which is like, it's like a sound check, but all you're really testing is that they can get a sound coming through the PA. They're not even checking the levels. They're just like, we're getting a signal, off you go. And that usually happens on a festival lineup when the changeovers are so frequent. And in those cases, you kind of just got to roll with it, roll with the punches almost. It's going to be what it is. But when you get a proper sound check, and you can run through a song, maybe 2 songs if you're lucky, if you've got enough time, just to check everything's, you know, just right. One thing to consider as well, though, is that sometimes the room, when it's empty, is going to sound really different to when it's got people in there.
When it's packed full of meat.
The sound's going to bounce off that meat. And it's gonna change it completely to what you thought it was sounding like in the sound check. So it's just one thing to consider. But yeah, it's more time the better, I think.
More time the better, yeah. But yeah, you got to be aware that usually they'll give you an allotted sort of time, you know, for sound check. They'll send you an email beforehand or whatever, correspondence, messenger pigeon, you know, whatever your bag is. And they'll say, okay, you need to arrive at 5:30 for a 20-minute sound check. You know.
That's plenty of time.
That's plenty of time, as long as everyone's kind of efficient with it. You know, and gets set up quickly and doesn't dawdle. You know, so... You know, when you start to run over, you know, it starts to get to 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that's when it starts cutting into the other band's sound checks. And then, like, it can get to a point where bands don't, some of the, you know, the first band on doesn't get a sound check, they get a line check, and then that's created tension between you and the opener. You know, before you've even played a note, you know, and that can be difficult. You know,
you got to be thinking of your fellow lineup people. You will. So yeah, definitely. And I'd say, like, you don't need that long to sound check. You just need, like, you don't, like, people that go like on for ages for these sound checks, like, I just sometimes I'm just like, do you really need this long to check like the sound of your guitar? You know what it sounds like. You just played it 10 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Like, there's some egregiousness that happens out there.
Definitely.
But this is all part of the fun of Soundcheck, because then you get to be the band that stands there and watches them and go, oh man, this guy's taking so long. Like,
Yeah. So, Soundcheck. I mean, one of the things we do, obviously, here in the Weekend Rockstars, as you'll know, is that we kind of talk about the things that people don't really tend to teach you about as you're getting into music. All this stuff we kind of just intuit, don't we?
Yeah.
And so, doing a good sound check, being able to do a good sound check is like, it's another skill, as
totally.
a musician that, again, did anyone teach you or give you pointers along the way as to do a good sound check? Like, did someone teach you Soundcheck etiquette, or was it something you just gradually picked up along the way? Did you make any big mistakes? And
I think it's something you do sort of pick up along the way, and definitely when I started touring more seriously, and you get into this rhythm of each night being very similar to the night before, with the same bands on the bill, you all sort of get in this rhythm with it, and there are definitely do's and don'ts when it comes to like soundcheck etiquette. For example, like no one's particularly that impressed when someone's just noodling away.
Ugh, I hate that guy.
When there's just no need, because no one's actually checking your sound at that moment. You're noodling away, just annoying everyone.
Yeah.
And I've done it because I just want to noodle sometimes.
Sometimes you just want to noodle.
But it's something where, like, sometimes you don't, like, I could set my bass gear right, and then I could just bugger off for like a little bit while the drummer's still setting up their kit. My kit's all ready to go, but I'm not sound checking until they're sound checked. So really, I'm not needed until the drums are sound checked, and then they'll be like bass, and I'll be like, here I am, back on stage, do the bass, done. And that's the way it goes. You don't. If I'm standing there noodling away while the drummer's setting up and stuff. It's just pissing everyone off, basically.
It is, yeah. Then when you've got the sound man telling you to shut up over his mic, that's when man, you don't want to pee off the sound man.
No.
You want to make him happy.
Yeah.
I once read an instruction guide on like how to. This was like, I've been gigging for years, but then it just came across my desk one day, so I had a read of it. It's like like how to do a gig really well, and part of it was like how to treat the sound man. And I don't know if it was like a semi-comical guide because it was just like, you should always ask if he wants food.
Yeah.
And like
get the man a drink. He might be thirsty.
Yeah, like
always thank the sound man during the gig.
Oh yeah, definitely always thank the sound man. It's you live or die by the sounds they give you. And sometimes you die hard on the stage, and that might be because they're really bad, or it might be because they're having a bad day and so they're just off it, or it might be because, you jumped in front of him at the queue at Nando's, and now he's like, during the break, so he's just gonna mess with you.
The other thing I think as well, like another thing that you see people do is they're like, oh, can I get more guitar on my monitor? And you'd be like, yep. He's probably not put any more guitar in your monitor, mate, because like you're already at the max. Like, say you're already at the max, right? You're asking for more.
Yeah.
He can't put any more in. He might just say, yeah, no worries, and he's just pretending. I've known sound engineers to do that.
Yeah.
It, but you psychologically think he has. In a way. I don't know why I went off this tangent, but
yeah. But no, it's interesting, like the relationship you can have with the sound man. As I said earlier, like with Jay and Winchester, I've done so many gigs with him at the Railway and other pubs and festivals and stuff, and he's done the sound and done a great job, so I'm always like, when I arrive at a gig and I see him, like, I'm just to myself, I'm like, yes, it's a big deal. And I think, you see bands who are touring and they take a sound man everywhere because they know how to get their sound right.
Yeah.
You guys kind of have someone a bit like that, not for every show.
Not for every show, but yeah, we got Donna's husband is a sound engineer by trade, and he knows what we like and how we know how he works, and he knows how we work. So it's just a perfect relationship.
Yeah. I actually met Rupert at a gig at the railway. He was doing sound for me at some other
Just
gig.
before I introduced you to him.
This was a year before.
Wow.
Like Donna joined the band, so this is going back to, I don't know, 2013, something like
Yeah,
that.
probably. Yeah.
It was quite a while ago, and I'd never seen him there. I said hello and everything, but we didn't really talk much. And then I remember showing up at the rehearsal studio in shirt, and he was just like, "Oh, we've met before," and I just didn't clock it at first. I was like, "Have we?" He was like, "The railway gig," and I was like, "Oh yeah, like, it's good." But like he's like a good sound engineer. Plus, he knows your sound, so like you must like have a sigh of relief as well when you know he's going to do the sounds, right?
Yeah, definitely. And there's other people out there that I've worked with that you just know they're going to do good sound, like people on the blues circuit, people, other people I've met, like you say, Jay. There was always this guy at the Horn in St Albans I really respected as well, but I don't know if he's still there. This was a few years ago now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's you know, you do get to know people on the circuit, as it were.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. In terms of gig etiquette, you know, I think it's probably something I made a lot of mistakes.
Oh, you know, another
over
one.
the years doing it.
Another one. Always turn up on time.
Yes.
It's nothing more annoying probably for a sound engineer where a band's late.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are gonna be late for whatever reason, try and call ahead and let them know where you are, because like it must be so annoying. Like, you only got a limited amount of time to set everything up, and they've got everything ready to go, and you're late, and it's like you're just eating up into your own time to get the sound right. And the sound engineer wants the sound to be right as well, because they want it to be a good night, because it reflects badly on them if it's not a good night.
Exactly. Yeah. I completely went blank there. I had a point and it just went.
There you go. It's gone.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say woohoo, like Kaiser Soze. No, I was gonna say with calling ahead. We talked about one of our early podcasts, the three qualities.
Yeah.
Didn't we? You know, about reliability was one of them, and you know that was in the context of being in a band and being reliable and being able to rely on each other. But I think that that extends to your relationship with the venues you play, and the sound man as well. It's good to build up that trust and reliability there. It's very important. I want to get on to some horror stories quickly as we come to a finish. So I think can I start off with my one?
Yeah. I want to hear this. I want to hear this horror story.
Okay, so oh man. Well, so this goes back to February this year. This is a recent one, and I counted that. I've been putting in my forms for royalties for this year. I've done, including the one I played in Salisbury a few weeks ago. I played 7 gigs this year. Oh man,
I think I've done less than that.
Yeah, it's punishing.
I must have done
less. But anyway, what must have been my 3rd or 4th this year was in Guildford. And I'm not going to name any of the people there, because there's some really nice people. The guy who put me on, really, really cool dude.
Yeah.
He was really thankful I was playing. He actually bought me a whole bunch of like alcoholic dandelion and burdock.
Lovely.
On top of paying me, just because he was really thankful for me playing. And so when you start a gig off with, you've already got, a bag full of that from the guy getting you to play, it puts you in a really good mood. So I thought this is going to be a cracking show. And the last time I was there was the day before I had to move out of my old place last year, and it was an awesome show. Everyone was going wild, and I'd been looking forward to this show for like a couple of months. Anyway, we get to the sound check, and I've never met the guy who's doing the sound check. The guy putting it on, I think, has brought him along, and so he's doing the sound check, and he can't get any sound out of my guitar. Now, I've had problems like this before. I remember when I played Essex a few years back. And I got on stage and I plugged in, and it was like a big festival kind of setting, and there was no sound coming out, and you got all these hundreds of people staring at you, and I'm like getting paid hundreds of pounds to play, and I'm like, my guitar's not working, this is a nightmare, and I found that sometimes my battery in the guitar, because it's an old guitar now, sometimes the battery, you need to put an extra little bit of cardboard in to like push the 9-volt battery closer in. So I checked that first. I looked at that, and it was fine. Like, I've got a built-in tuner on my Yamaha, and so if I turn that on and it's working, then it's fine.
Yeah, it's power. Yeah.
So I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. And so the guy's trying to get sound out, and every time he's like fiddling with the knobs at the desk, it just goes.
Oh my god.
Just, I even get just this distorted cow noise, essentially, and it's just, and the thing is, it's one of those sound checks where people were like filtering in, potential audience, so kind of filtering into the room, and so I'm getting a bit embarrassed because like the guy's going over the PA, you can hear him and his little microphone going, your guitar's not working, which is just coming out of the audience as well as me. And I'm going back just like, no, I think it's something on the desk, and it just went back and forth.
Yeah.
And then, he's like, oh, I think I've got it. And then it starts going,
oh, God.
It's just like, now it's a demented crow. It's really just like, I'm just sweating buckets because I don't know if it's me. I don't think it's me. I played a gig like a few nights before and it was fine.
Yeah.
But now suddenly it's all gone awry, and so I'm panicking, I'm sweaty. I got all these people in the audience just staring at me and like covering their ears every 5 seconds. Anyway, the guy comes up on stage. He looks at the DI box.
He's plugged it in the wrong way or something.
It's like plugged it in the wrong way. Yeah. And so my set was supposed to have happened like 25 minutes before then. Like, we'd completely eaten into my set time. So, I played a shorter set because of it. And my whole set, like, I had to just jump into it straight away. So I just jumped in. I was really stressed. And usually, like, my sets are really, like, joyful and energetic. And I was just really sluggish and tired and peed off. And just really, like, forcing everything. And it was just one of the most stressful gig experiences I've had in a while. Probably in maybe like 2 years. And like, I just did not think that was going to happen on the night. And it was a colossal disaster. So yeah, man, that's my most recent horror story. How about you, man?
I've got a few, I guess.
Tell us the worst one.
I'm trying to think of the worst one. So there was the time where I thought the sound engineer had done something wrong, or was like purposely making my bass make a weird noise or something like he was like cutting stuff in and out, and I sort of had a go at him in front of everyone in the band and stuff, and I really shouldn't have done. I was much younger then, because it was all my fault. The fucking lead in my guitar was basically broken. And I thought it was him, and I was like, oh, there's something wrong with my guitar. It's your fault, or whatever. But after the gig, I realised, like, well, it's a complete knob. So, so that was dumb. What else have I been part of? There was a time when we were supporting a band, and their bass player and the sound engineer almost got into a complete fisticuff fight.
Right.
That was hilarious. Over something ridiculous, like the fact that the sound engineer wanted to get us sound checked, and this bass player had a big hissy fit, making out that the sound engineer wasn't treating him with respect or something. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that was quite a funny one. Trying to think what else. Yeah, the usual line checks where things just don't go right. And you're sat, like much like yourself, you stood there in front of everyone, waiting for it to just work. Yeah. Or probably the most embarrassing one is where I'm playing, and there's no sound at all, and I'm like, why is there no sound? Like, he's like, I'm not getting a signal. I'm like, it should be working. I wasn't plugged in. Wasn't plugged in.
Yeah, man. That's always the trick, isn't it? If you're not getting any sound out of your instrument, check that it's plugged in.
And that was in one of those like situations with the whole crowd like filtering in as well. Yeah. It was like an earlier gig in my gigging career, and what an idiot.
Yeah. So to lead off that point and to sort of round up the podcast here, do you think it should almost be made illegal to sound check in front of an audience?
I don't like it. I mean, sometimes it just happens because of, I don't know, time restraints, or you're in a pub or stuff like that. But if it can be avoided, it should definitely be avoided, because it's just like there's something about the sound check that the audience shouldn't see. It's like seeing how the magician does his tricks.
Yeah.
Or it's like seeing behind the curtain. You find out the Wizard of Oz is just I can't remember what he was now. He's just like a man, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just finding out that it's really not as glamorous as it seems almost. I'm sure when you're queuing up to see the Foo Fighters outside a massive stadium, you can hear them sound checking. It sounds awesome, but really it's just the same as any other sound check.
It's
probably not even them actually sound checking; it's their roadies sound checking the instruments for them.
That does happen, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I hate it. Especially when people start shouting things at you while you're sound checking. Yeah. As soon as you get on stage with an acoustic guitar in a pub setting, you're bound to hear some wanker scream, Wonderwall! It's just, it's like, it's always gonna happen, unfortunately. So I wish I just had like a button that does put up a screen between me and the audience, so they could be shut off, because it can sometimes, that's like the whole gig experience to me. It begins in sound check. I need to get my sound right, and I don't want people interacting with me. I don't want it to feel like a gig yet. I want it to feel like a gig as soon as the doors open, people come in and everything.
You almost feel like a zoo animal at that point.
Yeah.
It's weird. You're not there to perform in the sound check. You're there to get ready.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you're just general kind of audience, or just general yobs can just start shouting and judging you and going, "Oh, they weren't very good in sound check." It's weren't supposed to be good in sound check.
Exactly.
We were sound checking, and it's it's weird, Yeah, man. So we've talked quite a lot about Soundcheck. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned so far that you think's worth bringing up?
Good Soundcheck jokes.
Okay.
So you got check 1, check 2. What's that? I can't remember. Give me a good sound check. I can't try and think of one.
I think of a good sound check joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, the whole.
So one that my friend Southern Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. If you want to be that way inclined, you can do a pun while you're on stage.
You could do a pun while you're on stage.
Southern Fried Chicken.
Check it. Obviously, this whole 1, 2, 1, 2, and then over someone in a band will go 3, 4, 91, and or someone in the crowd will start responding. And that happens nearly all the time. And obviously, you're saying check 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 over and over again to check different frequencies, aren't you? That's the reason you do that.
You get that ch sound.
Yeah. It's that sound. The I was told to use years ago. I'm not 100% sure why, but I still do it.
Yep.
And so I'll generally go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and then I'll start going and start making weird noises and stuff. Because I know it's not a performance sound check, it's not. But when you've got lots of glaring eyes at you, and some of them are the bands who are waiting to sound check, and I know some of them will not stick around to watch my set.
Yeah.
I want to kind of sometimes, if I feel like I'm going to lose them, I'll show a bit more personality during the sound check and my whole thing, and I'll move about a bit, hoping to bring people back in. I don't do that all the time, but you do feel like when you're playing in a new place and people look a bit more skittish and they're going to run off, I do kind of, prance about a bit more in sound check, but I wish I didn't have to.
I think we covered everything.
I think we covered everything. Yeah. Wow, when we initially said, "Oh, let's do sound check," you were like, "Is there gonna be much to say on this?" But actually, I feel like we did have a lot to say on it. Yeah.
I should have checked myself before I wrecked myself.
Right. And with that, ladies and gents, we are going to bring this to a close. This has been the Weekend Rockstars. We will be back next week with our 10th podcast.
Oh, what?
Podcast number 10. I don't know what we're going to do for it, but it will be our 10th one, Billy.
We'll go to 11.
We'll go to 11. Oh, wait. We'll just skip 10 and go straight to 11. I like the sound of that. Cool beans. I've been Scott Freeman.
And I've been Billy Debman.
And take it easy, guys. Peace.
Bye.